So Christos, I must like you a lot because that's the first time on Hello World that someone kept kept me in the fog. I have no idea what's your demo. So what it is.
That's because it's a total surprise. I'm going to show you how to actually configure Azure Active Directory in a CI/CD way using Python and Jupyter notebooks, which is very different to what we've shown so far. We can also achieve the same thing exactly with using .NET Interactive and .NET notebooks. So whatever I show you today, it's also achievable with .NET, but I like Python. Let's throw a curveball out there. Yeah, exactly. So I already have a Python project. I've created my virtual environment. So if I do ls, there's just one notebook and some requirements. And the requirements have some dependencies to the libraries that we need. So I'm going to open this in code. And here we have our project, which doesn't really have anything other than print hello world once the Jupyter notebook activates. So there you go. We can run this now. And this doesn't do anything other than print hello. The requirements here have two dependencies. We have one for graph, so we can interact with Azure Active Directory, and then the other one is the Azure.identity, which we can use to authenticate to the graph. So instead of using MSAL, now we're using the Azure identity, which works perfectly well. So we can use masked identities and service principals. Let's go back to the notebook, and I'm going to cheat slightly by copying the code from my notes, and that will allow us to actually focus on the code rather than worrying about the other stuff. So this is it. Let me just grab it from here so it's not in our face. And the first thing we'll do is copy the code that we need to authenticate to Azure Active Directory. This in effect says we're going to use the interactive browser credential to grab and sign in the current user, i.e. me, and then we're going to ask for specific permissions, the scopes, which are about creating applications and reading the user profile. And with that, we can run it. Yes, to run notebooks, you need to have a specific extension. So let's activate this one. It's thinking about it now. It's taking some sweet time. It's what demos do. They require interactivity. It's thinking about it. In the meantime, I'm going to grab the rest of the code. So when that completes, we can actually demo the whole thing.
Wonderful. So before I was having the connection issue and now it's your turn.
No connection issues. We're all done. So I can run it and it should work. Perfect. So now we need to just add one piece of code, which is here. And then what we're doing here is we're saying I want to create an API app registration, which we did before. And I want to pass some variables, and we're also going to create an API permission. So if you were to use this one to create an API app registration, this will do the whole thing for you and dump out the information you need to copy in your code. So let's run it. Here, it actually prompts for authenticating. I'm going to use my my account for my dev tenant. Then I'm authenticating. And I'm going to close this one very quickly and then come back here. It's running, and it's done. So I have my client ID, I have my domain, I have my tenant ID, all done for me via the notebook. And then I grab that information and dump it into my code, or I can automate part of the process and grab that information and pass it down further in my CI/CD pipeline to configure my web app as it deploys. And as you can see, this is a fantastic way for even expressing complex scenarios where we may need to have an API app registration with a client app registration and another client app registration maybe for a mobile app and a single page app. And we can express all these in one go. And because we're using the Azure Identity library, it means that we can also automate that by passing a different type of credential. So instead of an interactive browser credential, which I use to mainly show you how to do it, we can have service principal credentials with maybe a certificate instead of a secret, so we eliminate secrets from the interaction. Or we can use a managed identity with our, say, GitHub action in a custom runner to use that information to implement all these. And if you're interested, then I have a blog post showing you how to do all that for CI/CD and automating the Azure Active Directory component, which, as I said, usually trips people, and that's where they tend to mess things up and break the experience.
Wonderful. Well, we'll make sure to put everything. Let me, not that big, this big. I'll put everything in the show notes Make sure everybody can read your blog post and all the rest. But for now, let's go see the question in the chat.